Hey guys, so we're going to be talking about Buehl's Chapter 6. He basically builds upon a lot of his previous chapters, talking about instructional practices for working students into complex texts in our fields, and what's the best way to go about that. And his essential question for the chapter that he starts out with is, how can instruction that we provide scaffold the reading of complex disciplinary texts for our students? And we figured the best way to go about talking about this chapter was to interview some students and see how they responded to their classroom activities and what they thought of their study habits. So we interviewed Jake, who's a 9th grader. We have Rob, who happens to be in 8th grade, and Sabrina, who is in 10th grade. So we've got a pretty diverse list of kids here, ranging from 8th to 10th grade. And our first question that we asked them is, what do you do when you are reading and come across something you don't understand?
I skip right over it.
I just read over it. I search up on the internet what it means, and if I don't find anything, then I'll just ask.
No, it's not.
No, not really. Yes.
They look it up on the computer?
Okay, Google it. Yeah, they just crack jokes all day about what we're reading and not even pay attention.
Now, we just witnessed our students talking about some of their learning strategies, or lack thereof. Buehl states that we need to develop our moves as readers in the academic disciplines. Just like a professional boxer has a lot of practice dipping, ducking, dodging, and slugging, so must our students cultivate certain skills in order to achieve success. Buehl talks about Goleman's emotional intelligence, which are basically some identities that compose these moves as readers. These moves can be used to cultivate many skills through practice, and while someone may be very good at practicing, we don't tend to focus on the fact that they have particularly good practice skills. Practice is universal among many disciplines and fields. However, there are certain habits of mind that contribute to being able to sustain practice and be successful. For example, while making this video, rather than having animation skills or editing skills and being able to practice those skills, I'm executing certain moves to build my identity in these fields. I need to resist the impulsivity to do other things, manage the stress and frustration of trying to deal with animating and editing in a software that I don't know how to use, handling failure as a result of that, and delaying a lot of gratification of wanting to do other things like maybe play a video game or watch TV. Now, while I'm sure Buehl would be impressed with my newly developed moves that are helping me build identity in these fields, he advocates that we use these moves to help students develop learning strategies that are appropriate for understanding and remembering. Learning strategies are not personal systems. Things like scheduling time, creating a conductive work environment, managing other things that eat up our time. These things are very important to help our students be aware of, but they are not ultimately the strategies we're trying to teach. Learning strategies are things like note-taking, text marking and annotating, previewing a chapter, and creating graphic representations like charts and graphs. It's important that we be aware of the what, when, why, and how aspects of building learning strategies. What is declarative knowledge, things that students can remember and understand. How is procedural workings of knowledge, such as ways of applying learning strategies comfortably. And the when and why are focused on the conditional knowledges, such as what is the best task to choose to complete the assignment and focus on. There are 3 main strategies and actions that Buehl expounds upon later in the chapter. He talks about cognitive strategies and how students have to orchestrate their ways of thinking by using comprehension moves, things like thinking about what they already know and connecting that to what they're reading, imagining what the author's saying, raising questions to themselves while they read, and trying to sum up what the author is saying. This seems largely like a precursor to metacognitive strategies, where readers can be conscious of tracking their own thinking. It's like developing a split personality, Buehl says. One personality does the direct work of comprehension, and the other watches intently, monitoring to make sure everything is proceeding satisfactory. Metacognitive strategies seem largely to compose the what and the how of the learning strategies that readers need to master. One of the last moves is one that Buehl focuses a lot on for this chapter. It's strategic actions. And it's basically like having a plan for completing your work. Strategic actions are further subdivided into rehearsing, elaborating, and organizing types of moves. Let's take a look at what types of strategic actions Jake, Rob, and Sabrina are using in their English classrooms.
I relook at the notes.
I read over the notes. I look at the paper like twice, read it over, and then that's it.
No, it's not.
No, not really. Yes.
When asked to think of more study skills, note-taking and rereading their notes was about all that came to their mind. It seems that their moves and strategies as students are limited. So how can we help them to build those skills? Earlier I mentioned a few types of strategic actions that can help scaffold students into the reading of complex disciplinary text. Based off of Victoria's interview questions, it seems that rehearsal strategies are the most commonly used among our interviewees. Text marking is one type of rehearsal strategy, of which techniques such as highlighting, underlining, and annotating text are employed. I'm sure Jake, Rob, and Sabrina just forgot to mention how much they love doing this in their interviews. Note-taking is another type of rehearsal strategy, and one with which I'm sure they are most familiar. I'm sure everyone's familiar with note-taking, so I won't do much other than quote Buehl here in saying that note-taking needs to transcend the act of merely writing stuff down. These techniques help our students to build the what that they need in their learning strategies. Another kind of rehearsal strategy we have is elaborating. Remember that we're still under rehearsal strategies, which are a type of moves, along with cognitive strategies and metacognitive strategies. Elaborating builds upon questioning taxonomies like the one seen in Chapter 5, based off of Bloom's taxonomy. Elaborating moves help the students to question themselves as they consider what it is that the author is trying to tell them. Students can make connections to prior knowledge, generate questions, create mental images, make inferences, determine importance, and synthesize. Of course, they don't have to use all of these techniques at once, but we should definitely encourage our students to explore multiple options. Giving students the option to text code, for example, can help them significantly to make connections and pay attention to the text in a special way, since there is an explicit code for certain modes of thinking. Double entry diaries are also great for helping students learn how to take notes. Students are encouraged to reword the material in their own words, and it also includes summarizing, which is a third and final equally effective type of elaboration. Now I think Victoria just got done showing Jake, Rob, and Sabrina some of these strategic actions that they can use. So let's go take a look at what our little scholars had to say about what types of strategic actions they would use in the classroom.
Highlighting stuff because it tells you where the answers are.
Summarizing because it picks out the main points.
Highlighting because I could easily go back and just find it.
I answer only the questions my teacher gives me.
I just answer the teacher's questions.
We discuss it and then we answer what our teacher asks us, but then we also ask our own questions.
After we're done reading, he asks us questions in class.
No.
He helps us come up with our own ways to help it memorize the things like vocabulary and stuff.
Now all these strategies are great, but what good are they if we can't organize our thoughts? In my opinion, organizing can be like a type of elaborating and text marking strategy combined. You need to be able to perceive the structure of a message and reorganize information in a way that shows you understand relationships between details, facts, and ideas. And research supports that learning, like many things, is a social act. It seems that many students may be more willing to participate in classwork when group members are involved, and responsibility is shared. Buehl says that when he is mismatched with an author, he likes to seek the advice of peers to assist his understanding. As teachers, we need to assist our students in making these decisions so that they don't stay surface readers forever. Buehl proposes that to do this, we can use reading guides as teachers. And while these reading guides definitely provide great thorough, step-by-step guides for studying, I feel that their level of detail may be overwhelming at first. I think a good consideration would be to split the guides up into parts. This way students can master a move or two at a time rather than being thrown right into the race. So now that you have all this information about identities, mindsets, moves and strategic actions. What's going to be your move as an educator?